Hey guys, welcome to the second set between Lomo and fOu. This is going to be on Tiamat. I don't think I've seen a Terran versus Terran on Tiamat yet. Should be pretty exciting. Let's check what the starting locations are. It's a two-spawn map if you're not familiar. There's also neutral buildings across basically the left-hand right-hand side of the map. Lomo's going to be starting in the upper left-hand corner in teal and immediately sending out some cheese. I've been saying this for a while. I wanted to see a player go into the other player's spawn, well, their side of the map, and then build something in the upper right-hand corner. And I think this could be extremely effective with basically two barrack push out of the upper right-hand corner of the map, because fOu is going to send the scout right out through the middle. I don't think he's going to check for cheese in the upper. Basically, he's not going to check for cheese out in that position. He doesn't want to send his scout that much delay. He wants to head immediately to his opponent's base. So there's a lot of territory here where Lomo can build where fOu isn't going to see it. He's starting in the bottom right-hand corner in red. This is going to be extremely exciting, and I'm not sure if there's anything fOu can really do to spot this out. I mean, maybe this is just an early scout. It looks like he's bringing it to the south. I'm surprised again that he's not going to the north at this point. So he's going to build it inside fOu's base. Extremely risky. Wow. Complete balls early from Lomo.
I love these games when they do that. This is reminds me so much of two games I've casted of Boxer and CHRH on the Ace team doing it. But anyway, we are seeing the in the base balls out Boxer-esque barracks, and this is of course the ultimate cheese. But it all depends on when fOu is scouting, and fOu looks like he's actually scouted for potential cheese at the northern side, or perhaps that was just the SCV getting lost. No, actually he is going to be building. Oh, this is actually really bad. I thought he was going to be going for a scout after the supply depot was done, but it looks like he's going to be building a forward barracks. This is the sort of the forward barracks push that he's been doing very often against Terran, but the fact that this barracks in such a forward position is really going to hurt him. I don't know what he can do about this barracks that's literally centimeters away from his command center. I mean, he's just not going to be able to build. He's not going to be able to get those Marines there in time. I mean, really, there isn't too much you can do about this. Really, the one way to beat it is, of course, to scout after your supply depot or push a very early scout. Here we're seeing SCVs coming down from Lomo. He's going to be going for the bunker rush here, and fOu, I don't think this is within. No, this cannot be in vision range yet. Looks like he's actually going to place a bunker and have that to retreat to, while fOu's SCVs are going to try to micro against these Marines, and that's actually a very smart idea. Looks like he's not going to be planting the second racks inside the base. He's content with just one racks, and I'm not sure if. Oh man, and fOu going for the economy, but still has not gone for a scout. Now he knows this is coming though. He has pulled his SCVs out. He's going to see the bad news here inside of his base. Two bunkers going up here. One from fOu, one from Lomo, and Lomo actually might get picked off. No, it looks like he will actually keep his Marines alive, and now basically the only thing fOu has managed to do is stop the second bunker from going up, but Lomo continuing to succeed in this cheese so far, and I have to say, I mean, this is something generally the winner of the first game does in the second game, to go for the cheese, but this time we're seeing the loser just perhaps just practicing this build a lot and perhaps wanting to make some notoriety for himself going for this build, and I don't know if I'll call it genius because this has been done many times before by Boxer, of course, but I certainly am enjoying this game so far.
Yeah, it was a huge risk in the one hand of Lomo's part. It's one of the great things about StarCraft is it can be so much like poker, and even though that's one of the greatest things about StarCraft, ironically it's also can be one of the worst things about StarCraft, because it's just almost like a luck of the draw. You pull something off and either it works or it doesn't. But fOu so far seems to have held his ground, seems to have held his defense, but now he's been forced to bring out a couple of Marines from his bunker. The problem for fOu is obviously that he's got the longer supply route to get his Marines down to his base and to his command center. But the key thing for him is that he can keep producing SCVs right there and reinforce his Marines with his SCVs, whereas Lomo obviously has committed himself, but the key question is how much of a lead, and fOu managed to pick up another couple of Lomo's Marines. He's almost equalized the advantage that Lomo had. I think the key for fOu was that he stopped Lomo from building that second bunker, and now fOu forced to bring out more of his SCVs. fOu's economy has taken a pounding though. To be honest, I think this game is Lomo's now for the taking. He's killed so many of fOu's SCVs, and fOu continued to push out. I'm wondering why fOu didn't try to build another bunker and just try and stay within range of the first bunker and set up a defensive perimeter that way, and why he kept pushing those SCVs out. Maybe he felt that he had to, and maybe he would have been able to hold his defense in that way, but Lomo's obviously economy flourishing compared to fOu. He hasn't been forced to use nearly as many SCVs. Now fOu has finally got a lead of Marines on Lomo. fOu has got about 6 Marines. Lomo still keeping up with the micro, and this game probably is going to go to Lomo, but this is while it's one of the greatest things that you can see in StarCraft, you can see someone go for a completely crazy rush build. At the same time, it can also be disappointing where the win or the loss of the game isn't necessarily be decided by the player's individual skills, but almost by a factor of luck. Almost, you know, it's like playing a hand of poker, and you've got what looks like a really great hand. You've got 2 kings to start with, and a 3rd king pops out, and lo and behold, your opponent pulls a flush or a royal flush at the very end, and you've lost, even though the probability was in your favor, the odds were in your favor, and you played a smart game. And on the very last card, the opponent hits something brilliant, and that's a little bit what these builds are like. But you've got to still give Lomo the credit for trying, and sometimes it raises questions in my mind about whether or not the player who's trying such strategies is doing it because they feel they cannot take their opponent in a straight-up game. Although I don't think that's the case here.
In this case, yeah, I almost feel like it's a little cocky on Lomo's part. He's saying, I can out-micro you Marine for Marine, heads up. Heads up, I can use 1 barrack inside your base and outdo you. In the meantime, it looks like Lomo has spent the time. He's got the gas advantage at the moment. He's going to be able to produce Vulture, and as soon as that Vulture ends up inside Flash's base, it's going to be trouble for Flash. Flash now bringing some Marines across the middle of the map. If he can get those Marines inside Lomo's base, Lomo is going to be in trouble, especially if he manages to do so before, and realizing that the Marines are out across the base, it looks like he's going to try to bring some more pressure with those Marines to the south. But in the meantime, keep in mind, Lomo does not have any defenses in his base. He needs to get some Vultures out very, very quickly to fight against this. But if he can produce a Vulture or a tank, he's going to be way ahead of Flash, even with that supply route, because he has the Marines right there to reinforce, and getting a 2nd factory down. So now it's turned into sort of a 2-factory push after all this, and let's see if he can get a large enough attack force to get across the map. He definitely has a sizable gas advantage. He was mining gas for quite a while before Flash even put his factory, his refinery down, and now he's blocking himself in a little bit with that Vulture to make sure those Marines aren't going to be able to press through. In a really good situation, Flash is going to hold up there, make sure that this is an interesting maneuver from Lomo, making sure he doesn't get overrun by Marines. Let's see if he actually completes that supply depot. Be very surprised if he did. Otherwise, he's going to have to float those factories out to really get a cap. I don't think this game's quite over yet. I do think Flash is behind, but I do think that, yeah, he's not going to complete. Now the Vulture's heading across the map, but I still think that Flash, with some good micro, with a couple lucky breaks, still could come out with this.
I think, yeah, I agree with you, but Lomo with those 2 Vultures coming out can just micro so well against these Marines, and the fact that Flash still has a Thorn in his side, inside of his base there's still about 7 Marines, is going to cause him some problems too, and here comes the micro. This is going to be absolutely critical to who wins this game right now. I wouldn't say Flash is ahead, but here comes the micro, and Flash actually managed to do some damage, but Lomo with some nice patrol micro there with the Vultures. Flash needs to target the wounded Vulture right now, but it looks like he isn't doing that, and wow, Flash has lost so many Marines here. He's lost pretty much his entire Marine fleet. Finally, 1 Vulture left. No, looks like another Vulture coming up there, and wow, Flash has lost all of his Marines here. I don't know what he can do. He has his first Vulture out actually though, so maybe if he manages to hold that ramp, he could have a chance. And Flash going for a starport now, so Flash just this game has turned to be very, very interesting here. If he can manage to hold this ramp, and he needs to bring that Vulture in front, I think, to help hold this with the SCV there repairing the Vulture, he might be able to hold this, but he absolutely needs to hold this ramp. I wouldn't be surprised if he puts a bunker or goes for actually 2 supply depots or something to block the front door, just as Lomo just did in front of his first front base, and try to stop it that way. And I like Klazart's, oh wow, second starport, so he's going for cloak rates here to deal with this. But oh wow, Lomo anticipating this very well, getting the Goliath out, and of course Goliath is quite effective against the Vultures and the Marines, perhaps suspecting that Flash was going for some kind of tech, and now he's going to have this confirmed because he's brought his barracks, well, he has had this barracks inside of Flash's base the entire time, floating everything, and now he's managing even to get in here against this Vulture, picking off an SCV. Actually looks like he won't get in now. I really like Klazart's analogy. I would actually say, in terms of a poker analogy, it would be more like going all in before the flop, every hand, and then basically forcing your opponent to do some kind of coin flip instead of playing many hands through all the streets and basically trying to play a long game. Basically Lomo just went all in here pre-flop, and really it's kind of like a 50-50 here whether Flash scouts it, what kind of build he does. And now pushing forward with those 2 Goliaths, he's managed to get into Flash's base, and GG coming from Flash. Looks like the cheese has paid off for Lomo.
It's right there, yeah, Lomo taking the game. That surprises me.
Well, to be honest, once he got that lead, once he killed half of Flash's SCVs and only lost 3 SCVs of his own, I think that in itself was enough for him to win the game, provided he didn't do anything stupid. I think you've got to give a lot of credit to Flash for the way he stayed alive in the game and fought till the very end, and almost maybe a couple of seconds more, he might have had a better chance, considering the fact that Lomo didn't really have any detection for that cloak. But Lomo, I think going for the Goliaths was a win-win situation for him, because he knew that there would be no way fOu would have either enough gas or enough time to actually get a siege tank out. So all fOu could do at best to counter him would be Goliaths of his own, and Lomo would just have outnumbered him in that scenario anyway. We saw some great micro from both players in that game, but yeah, it is a little bit unfortunate, because on the one hand you saw the first game where fOu, even though he committed himself, he didn't commit himself so totally the way Lomo did in this game, and we saw probably a more well-rounded win. And then in this game we see, now maybe I might sound a little bit biased here, but in this game we see Lomo not necessarily earning the victory as much as fOu did in game 1. And the question is whether or not you can win a best of 5 like that. I'm not sure you can, but at the very least, Lomo is going to gain some confidence from this. He's at least won a game against fOu. He's managed to do that, and that's got to give him the confidence he needs to maybe go on and compete in this set.
I think he definitely made a statement here. What surprised me is that Lomo early on out-microed fOu Marine to Marine, and I did not expect him to win a match out, basically just, hey, heads up, micro early. I expected fOu to just run. I mean, I think Lomo's micro is fantastic, but when it's coming to fOu, who's basically been the dominant player for the past 2 months, I would say, just, yeah, and his micro's been indomitable recently, and now Lomo just challenging that.
Diggity.
I don't know, I think early...
I don't think, no, I have to disagree with you. I don't think Lomo's micro was superior. I think he had a numerical advantage because his racks was right in fOu's base, and his Marines, as they popped out, were supplementing his force, whereas fOu had a longer way to go, and fOu was microing his Marines as well as his SCVs in order to get the defense. And I think Lomo always had a numerical advantage in terms of his Marines till quite long into that battle. So I don't think he necessarily out-microed fOu. I think fOu microed brilliantly to actually get himself back into that game at all when it could have been toast.
I think even having the shorter supply route, he still had a massive SCVs alongside. He had 10 SCVs, or not 10 SCVs, he had 7 SCVs off the line at times, with Marines behind it, and Lomo stayed in there somehow. That I find unbelievable.
Well,
he
had the
all those
to fall
SCVs
back
off the line, 3 Marines behind it.
All he had to do was pull back. All he had to do was pull back to his bunker, and fOu couldn't.
fOu had a bunker too, and fOu had a bunker too, and it wasn't up to fOu to push against the bunker of Lomo's. It was up to Lomo to push up and pick off SCVs of fOu. Lomo has to inflict economic damage on fOu as opposed to the other way around.
Well, that's the other thing. I think maybe in a rush of blood, fOu did make a mistake there, because that was the one thing I didn't understand. That once fOu had that bunker, why did he continue to commit his forces to actually fight Lomo? And I think Lomo did incredibly well in terms of luring fOu out, but I don't think fOu necessarily needed to allow himself to be lured out. If he had just stayed within the defensive umbrella of that bunker, he would have been able to have a much less damage done on his economy. But maybe he felt that he needed to attack Lomo, and he kind of played a little bit into Lomo's hands by doing that. But I still don't think that Lomo's micro was necessarily superior to fOu's there, because he did have that bunker umbrella to fall back into.
Yeah, any chime in there, caller?
I'm pretty much in between both of you. I think while I'm not actually sure if fOu needed to move out of the bunker too much. I think it's maybe because he was afraid Lomo would flank from the northern side of fOu's mineral line, pick off some SCVs there. So basically, he couldn't just sit in his bunker. But yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know whose micro is better, to be honest. I think both of you have very good points, and I'm excited about Game 3.
Yeah, let's move on to Game 3, and we'll see how it works on from here. So especially, and I do have to say though, that's balls for Lomo to come across the map like that and build inside fOu's base. That's just ridiculous to me. Anyway, but coming out with it, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Once again, thanks for listening.